Welcome back to another episode of World Percussion on the WVU Summer Online Percussion Academy. Today we're going to be talking about, continuing with our idea of talking about timeline structures as well as rhythmic internalization and being able to speak one part while you play another. Today we're going to look at Latin instruments. Probably the most ubiquitous Latin instrument that we have is the clave. The clave are two sticks of wood, and they're used in the same kind of manner as we had the bell in West African percussion. So when we looked at the pan logo yesterday and we had the iron gongkogwe, keeping a steady bell pattern always, now we're really looking to the clave, or this wood sound, to reinforce that. It's important to note that these cultures are interrelated. As of many years, as a result of many years, centuries of the slave trade, people were forcibly brought from West Africa to the Caribbean, where they worked and brought many of their cultural ideas and music with them. Upon being freed later in the 19th century and in the 20th century, many were working and went back to Africa, and musical styles were brought back to Africa. So there was this cross-pollination that went on for many centuries between the two. So when we hear rhythms in Latin music or we hear rhythms in West African music, there's a sort of interrelationship between the two. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a very common rhythm in Latin percussion that you could refer to as maybe a cha-cha, and look at that same 3/2 sewn clave that we heard on the bell, but now we're going to hear it on the clave. So again, our pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That same 4-beat structure repeated over and over again. Just like we heard in the West African piece, we're going to have a variety of instruments that sort of create this timeline. So here again, the clave, once it's in, it's always going to be there. Just in terms of playing technique, this is a hollow clave. As you can see, it's cut out here. There's a small hole in the middle. To play this instrument, I want to create a nice loose cup with my hand. I'm going to in my non-dominant hand, and with my dominant hand, I'm going to hold the other clave nice and loose. I'm going to hit it just off center, so I get that full wood blocky type sound. We want to keep that idea of that clave, bop, 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 always in the back of our mind as we play the other instruments. Just as we had yesterday with our ahatse in the pan logo example, here we have maracas. Very similar to how the ahatse or the rattle functioned in the pan logo. Here are the maracas, bop, 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 bop. We're really filling out that groove, filling out that that pulse and the space there. So again, these rhythms very, very rarely do they change. You can add a little bit of flourish here and there as you so desire. The third element of the timeline that we're going to look at here is the wiro. The wiro can be made of a variety of different materials. This one happens to be wood. You can also find them in plastic. They're typically also gourds. You can hit them with, strike them or scrape them with a wood beater or a plastic beater. This is a very thin metal comb. I would not recommend using a triangle beater. I see too often many students that they see a band, they're sitting around a band room, they have a wooden wiro and they take a big triangle beater and scrape it, and then all the ridges are worn down. So we want something that'll add a nice flavor to it and get a good sound out of the instrument, but we don't want it to be too hard where we damage the instrument that we're playing. So here the wiro is also just sort of giving a little bit of emphasis to that phrase, but we want to make sure that we hear that clave, or we can speak that clave in whatever we're doing. So the rhythm we're going to have here bop, 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 bop. If we don't have a Wiro at home, we just want to practice slide, 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 dot, 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 dot. Then we can fill out the full timeline. So again, we have our clave, our maracas, and our Wiro. Now we're going to add our congas. So with our congas, we want to have a typical pattern called tumbao. Tumbao is heard in a variety of Latin music, and there's many, many different ways to play it. When we think of tumbao, there's such a variety of ways. We can think of, if we say play the rock beat or the jazz beat on a drum set, what does that mean? That can mean a variety of different things. And here tumbao is very similar. So what I'd like to demonstrate first is just a very simple way to play tumbao that can be used for embellishment later on. I have a tumba on my right hand side that I'll use with my dominant hand, and my main drum is the conga. So I have the medium size and the lowest drum here. I'm going to use that heel toe that I had before and a closed slap. So I'll have heel, toe, slap, toe. The first half. The second half of the pattern, heel, toe, open, open. Heel, toe, open. Variations happen within that. But our very basic pattern that we will look at today, heel, toe, slap, heel, toe, open, open, heel, toe, slap, toe, heel, toe, open, open, heel, toe, slap, toe, toe, open, open, heel, toe, slap, heel, toe, open, open. And again, we want to hear how this fits with the clave. To do so, we'll have to speed it up just a little bit so we match the same tempo that we had earlier. Dot, 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 dot. Now let's look at how all these parts fit together. So first we'll layer each one in one by one, and then we'll add the tumbao. So let's start with the claves. Add the maracas. Here's the Wiro. Now I'll add the tumbao. See here how all the parts fit together, all within that clave structure. So each part has to listen to that clave. That way everything lines up. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and hope you understand a little bit better the concept of clave. Next time we'll be looking at how this idea works in samba music from Brazil.